welcome to another episode of Rimshots with Sean, brought to you by Barstools and Bandtalk. And I've got a gentleman, as you can tell, he's enjoying the sunny climes of Southern California here today. Do I say Dr. Michael McBay or just Michael McBay for this interview?
Just Michael McBay. Just Michael McBay, sir.
Just Michael McBay from the band Circle the Earth. How are you?
How are you? Doing fine. Thank you for having us.
Thank you. So before you came on, Lulu and I were just having a chat about your story. And
Uh-huh.
I don't want to. I don't want to give anything away, so I want you to tell my
You
viewers
can
about
give
your
it all
background.
away. No problem. Anything you want to know about fan fine.
Yeah. So tell us about your back. You're a doctor.
Yes, sir.
Um. Oh, are you there?
Hold on.
There we go.
Okay,
There
yeah.
we go. So just give us a little tour on Michael McBay.
Okay, I was born in Atlanta, Georgia during the 60s during the Civil Rights Movement. My parents were both outstanding academic people. My dad was the first Black American to get a PhD in organic chemistry from the University of Chicago. My mom was the first person of any color to get a PhD of any kind. She got it in mathematics from the University of Georgia. My dad then came to teach at Atlanta University. I grew up on Atlanta University campus. He trained more Black PhDs in organic chemistry than anybody in the United States still to this day. My mom went on from teaching at Atlanta University and Spelman College to becoming the first woman and the first Black American to be dean of students at MIT. From there, she went on to start a program called Quality Education for minorities that receives money from the government, NASA, Rockwell, all that, to identify minority geniuses in the math and sciences and then pay for their educations from kindergarten all the way to PhD. So I was totally academic background. Then I got beat by my dad if I got anything less than an A on anything. I went to an all-Black elementary school. They dressed me up like Urkel. I got beat up a lot. I integrated Atlanta, Georgia's last private white high school. Got the shit beat out of me, acid poured on me, called the N-word, spat on every single day. And so I have a lot of PTSD operating. But then I went to Stanford and things changed. Once I got to Stanford, I saw diversity. I saw acceptance, tolerance, inclusion, and music in ways that I'd never seen before. First music I heard was the music of Sly and Family Stone, Chicago, Jimi Hendrix, and I heard the music of Yes, and I never looked back after that. Started playing bass because it had four strings, and my parents weren't particularly in favor of me doing music at all. So I figured bass was the easiest thing to do myself. And I started a band together in college with a genius guy named Jonathan Ivey, who was he was a black guy from Tennessee. He had scholarships in acting, academics, and music, like that kind of guy. He was a keyboard virtuoso. He taught me how to put bands together, how to rehearse, everything about how to run a band. And then we tried doing music in Los Angeles for about 10, 15 years in a band called Talisman, played all over Los Angeles. It was too progressive for the time. And I sort of grew into doing more commercial music. I also finished Stanford and went to UCLA eventually, and I graduated UCLA Med School, started residency in ER at Martin Luther King Hospital, got into drugs, and I lasted on drugs for about 20 years. Played music for a while, stopped music for a while, played music again. And then once I got sober, I've been sober 14 years, that's when things started to pick up and go into fruition. I lived on the living room floor of a family friend named Elba Corzo for 8 years while I put my life back together. And then gradually, Circle the Earth came. The first player I met was Sandro Feliciano, who played drums with Tina Marie. He toured the world with Tina Marie and Lauryn Hill, Funkadelic, and Flora and Earto Purim from South America. Fantastic drummer. I've been with him for like 14 years. Next person to come in was Kadia, the vocalist. I met her through a referral from one of Katy Perry's background singers. She was in Mexico at the time, and our dreams and our goals were so aligned that I just waited for her to finish her stint in Mexico for a month or two. She came in, auditioned. We were immediately bonded, Sandra, her, and I. Next person that came was Sandy, the keyboardist. She answered ad in Craigslist. She walked in, blew the audition away. I picked her up in my arms, never let her go after that. And then finally, Kazuki came about 3 years ago. I met him as a referral from a heavy metal guy in East LA. Told me I need to find Kazuki Tokaji. Found him, and he's the icing on the cake. So the entire lineup's been together about 2 to 3 years. And my sobriety and my emphasis on spirituality has allowed me to manifest the most beautiful musical project of my life, and that's where I'm at.
That was probably the most compelling 5 minutes of anything that I've. I mean, you covered a lot of ground there. You covered a lot of ground. I'm sitting there trying to formulate what my next question is going to be, and then it's like, oh, there's more, there's more, there's more. So tell me about this band. I mean, very obviously very diverse players, diverse
Yeah.
backgrounds.
Mm-hmm.
If you were to describe the band, what would you describe the sound as?
It's kind of like it's commercial, so it's got quality like Heart. It's got energy like Paramore. It's got playing like any of your Steve, Kazuka's a fantastic guitar player. It's commercial and young and fresh at the same time, but it's also got old school power and energy. So when you hear it live, it's like compelling, and it's got an underlying positive message, and uh, it's a without being preachy, it's about the light. It's about the light of the God of all religions, but we never mention that, of course, in the songs. But it's about positivity and inclusion, all the things that are right about the world. They could be right about the world.
Um, so to back it up a little bit, I mean, you're talking about your background with your parents, and I mean that's high level achievement. Especially in a time where people of color didn't, they weren't accepted. You don't do that, and they obviously overachieved. So to your point, you said your father hit you if you didn't get an A. It must have been incredibly difficult growing up to really have to keep that pace. And still, I guess, function in everyday life as a kid, as a teenager, as whatever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I got into alcohol. Well, because of the pressures of going to an all-white school and being the only one of three black people there and getting beat all the time. The first time I drank alcohol with them, all that shit disappeared. So I early on got into marijuana and alcohol, and at that point I didn't realize I was using it addictively. I did it every day, like thinking that was normal. And when I got to college, um, the only thing that stopped me from going into full-blown alcoholism and marijuana addiction was the fact that I discovered karate, and I couldn't do that high. So all throughout my life, lucky for me, music and martial arts have been things that I find equally rewarding, in fact more rewarding than drugs. So they help me keep the drugs at bay with based on some sort of spiritual awareness.
So you're going through. You mentioned you picked up bass, and in my life, I always joke around with bass players. I'm a drummer myself, and but that being said, your influences on the bass. You mentioned a few different things, but who would you have, I guess, listened to learn your craft? Are you self-taught? Did you take any lessons? You mentioned your parents were supportive. Were you maybe hiding in your bedroom trying to figure it out, and not make any noise?
Yeah.
How did you put that together?
I was entirely self-taught. My favorite bass player was Chris Squire from Yes. The first time I heard Siberian, I never forget, dude. I was sitting at the dinner table. Dinner was over, and we have a local FM rock station in Georgia, and Siberian Kachu came on, and my soul lit up. I'm like, what is this? And I went and sat in front of the thing, and the most beautiful thing I've ever heard. My soul recognized it immediately, and that's become the soundtrack of my life. All the things they sing about, all the things that represent, well, the same things that I feel in my heart. And anyway, so Chris Squire and Stanley Clarke are my two major influences on bass. I used to be able to play great with my fingers. I used to be able to play fast with my fingers, but when I was high, I put my hand through a windshield in a car accident. So now I can only play downstrokes with a huge ass plastic pick that makes up for the damage to my hand.
Hey. My hand. Are you lefty or righty?
Left. I play the bass left upside down. It's left strung right because I learned on my mom's acoustic guitar upside down. So I'm playing it upside down, kind of like Hendrix does.
That's interesting because there's a gentleman here where I live that does the same thing, and he always said when he went to house parties, he's a lefty. And he learned on a right-handed bass, and just because he never wanted to bring his bass, so he'd have something to play. So, a guy named George Wolf. So Circle of the Earth. Where do you guys play out there? Like, what? I talked to a bunch of people in LA, and I get all kinds of different sorts of views on what the scene is like there. For you guys, what's the scene like? Do you have to go out of state? Are you able to play within your own backyard? How does it work?
Okay, so for us, we're local to Los Angeles, and the competition here is intense. There are literally 8,000 other acts doing exactly the same thing we are. You got to try to stand out amongst those. So here, in order to play, you got to pay to play. You have to because the competition is so intense. The booking agents are easily able to charge you to you have to pay X number of dollars and buy the tickets and sell them yourself, or you buy the tickets and give them away and hope for exposure, or you pay the promoter to let you open up for a built-in draw and you play for them. Any of those uh, are alternatives here. So if, and I'll just be blunt, if you're white and you can pull in an audience and do better. If you're minorities like us, acceptance is more difficult. I got a black female singing rock in front of the band, and things are more difficult for us. That's my honest feeling about it. We have to be twice as good. We have to try twice as hard. And it's interesting when we go on stage, basically the audiences are white and you see them trying to figure it out. And then you play the first song and they're trying to figure it out. And you play the second song and they're on. And then by the third or the first song, you see them gradually wrap their head around what's being presented to them and the fact that the music is so good and the band is completely minorities. It's an interesting process to go through. And it's a challenge, and I love it. It's more challenging than medicine because the probability of failure is so high. And the better you are, almost the harder it is because, dummy music, people love it. And music that has some intelligence and some message is harder to sell, in my opinion.
So 2024, and you're telling me it's a story here, and it's no different in Canada because I live very close to one of the largest Black communities in Canada. And there's still tension. There's still people not liking each other and that type of thing. But it's still that way in Los Angeles, where you guys have to sort of oh, you're of color, you're not going to be as good as the white people. Is that 100%?
They're not 100%, but there's, in my opinion, there is some of that. Absolutely. Yeah. People assume it's going to be R&B because they see Kadia and me, or they the last thing they think is going to be anyway. That's just might be my own prejudice, my own background.
But you know what? So me growing up in Canada, and hockey was a big thing. We never saw many Black kids playing hockey until. So right. I mean, I get it, and I find it a little strange because one of my favorite musicians ever is Doug Pinnick from King's X. I've seen him play a couple times, left-handed bass player. And he's a rock guy, man. But he's got and I don't know. That just surprises me a bit. But so the pay-to-play thing, I mean, I've heard about it. I've had to do it a little bit up here, but I guess what's the stress level when you're doing that, and how do you go about it? Like, do you guys have success putting people, butts in seats, as they say?
It's out of let's just be blunt. The music industry is ruthless, and people are out for money. They don't care, and they don't care about the talent for the most part. It's all about how many people can you put in the seats, or how much money can you give them, because the dollar is their bottom line. They don't care if the music is good or not, for the most part. That being said, out of 10 promoters that are active at a significant level, I would say 2 or 3 of them are aware of the fact that ultimately the music matters. You can sell out some clubs here and there and get by for a while, but if you want to get above that, the music's got to be good. So the people I'm working with now, in general, have said to me that music is pay to play, whether you're paying to play for clubs, whether you're paying to be on the radio, whether you're paying to get your song promoted, whether you're paying for ads on Instagram, it's all pay to play. And if you have the funds and the music is good, then you're at ground zero and you have a shot. So fortunately for us, the music is good and we have some funding.
A big thing up here in Canada, I was talking to somebody about this today. So, we have a similar thing, but the Canadian music scene is such that people who, if you're not signed to a major label, you have to go out and get government grant money that's available, right? Which I've never been a fan of, simply because, the government giveth, the government can take it away. That's kind of my viewpoint. Do you guys have programs down there like that would help you with live performance, travel, recording, anything like that?
To my knowledge, we do not have that. I worked with a lady named Paige Williams, who was born in Canada. And one of the producers did get a loan from her from the Canadian government. And that's why I'm aware of that sponsorship program you're talking about. It's very real. I've seen it happen. But I'm not aware of anything that works like that here in Los Angeles or California.
Well, and this interview, I definitely feel is a learning experience for a lot of my viewers, because the people up in Canada, it's funny, they don't understand the pay to play thing, because everybody wants to play a gig and figure they should get paid for it. But they also don't understand, like, and grants can be hard to get, but they're available, right? And so you do have an opportunity to get them where what you're like. I interviewed a young band last week. They were 25 years old. It was another one of Lulu's bands. They want to get their own funding. And that's kind of, people don't do that up here. So I mean, you're schooling some people up here, and I really appreciate that, because people don't really have, I don't think, a grasp of how things really work sometimes in the real world.
Always agree.
So scheduling wise, being a doctor, playing, that must be extremely challenging. What do you do to make sure that you're not kind of having worlds collide and overlapping in your everyday?
So first of all, because of my drug addiction, I surrendered my medical license, so I'm not technically allowed to legally work as a doctor. So let me say that, so that's not a question. But I work in a clinic, and I do. I work with people I've known. I have a great job. I work with people I've known for a long time, and they're completely aware of my addiction. Some of them are in recovery too, so it's like a family thing. So they are very supportive of lucky for me, they're supportive of the music I'm doing. So I get to take time off and do whatever I got to do to succeed. They're behind me. And I've earned that right, because I've worked so hard in the area, and I've been so nice to everybody around me, that the karma I've accumulated, to be honest with you, is very positive. And that's what allows me to do this. So my job is very flexible. It funds the band, and I'm allowed to take off when necessary to do the stuff the band needs.
Well, I mean, and that's, everybody knows the music industry is kind of feast or famine, right? It's boom or bust. And, so it was almost at one point in time, if you had a job, you weren't a real musician. I talk to people about this all the time. The record industry treats the people that are starving to death like they're pros, and the people that are actually responsible to still doing music. Do you ever get any of that feedback from people? Like, you're a professional and you're playing, or just people come out to you?
The expectation, anyone who knows that I'm a doctor or work in a clinic or any of that, or in my age, is also, there's a significant amount of ageism. So no one expects the music or the band to be what it is when I first tell them I play music. It never happens. Never happens. They're always shocked. And I enjoy that, honestly.
So I got a last question for you here, sir, because you want to enjoy some of that wonderful weather there. Where can my viewers find out about Circle the Earth?
Okay, so we have songs on all platforms, and those are Spotify, YouTube, Instagram. Just Google Circle the Earth. It's circletheearth.band, Circle the Earth LA are the websites. I would like to say that these people I work with, Kadia, the lead vocalist, Sandro, the drummer, Sandy, the keyboard player, and Kazuki, the guitar player, the most beautiful, deserving human beings I've ever come across in the 30 years I've been doing this. I'll do anything for them to succeed, and I encourage your viewers and your listeners to come with us on this journey of discovery, because we're going to the light the best we can.
Fantastic. Shout out to all the folks that help you. Thank you so much, Mike. I really appreciate your time, my friend.
Sir. Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity, sir.
All right.